I'm a Brit who moved to Australia, and the first time somebody told me to pack my budgie smugglers, I genuinely had no idea what they were talking about. And when I realised what budgie smugglers actually were, I almost didn't get on the plane. I'm more of a swim shorts kind of guy, what can I say? And there are 9 more Australian words that shock every single Brit the first time that they visit Australia. So let's get into it. And hey mate, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Sam, a British actor documenting my journey of rebuilding life in gorgeous Australia. Number 1 is sanger. My first week in Australia, my Aussie wife offered me a sausage sanger and I said, no thank you darling, I don't do that. And she said, don't be a silly boy. It's a sausage sandwich. And I said, oh my word, is that what it is? I said, that's very Australian. In the UK, we would call it a sausage sarnie. And there are quite a few British slang terms that are also used in Australia. So I assumed before I moved to Australia that these things would just be the same. I thought our English slang would be very, very similar. But it's not. And even if you haven't visited Australia before, you probably know that the Aussie slang and the Aussie abbreviations feel very culturally Australian.
Welcome to Australia!
And you feel like you're home, you're in Australia, and it's great and it's very patriotic.
Welcome to Australia, man.
Also, a snag is a word for a sausage. I've covered this in a previous video. That confused me. Snag, and I said, oh, a snag is a sausage in bread, and everyone was like, no, it's just the sausage. So someone might say to you, a snag sanger? I've actually never heard that before, so I'm just assuming that's not really said. Honestly, my first year in Australia, I had so many interactions where they would say a word like sanger, and I would stare at them blankly for 10 seconds. Part of me would want to be, so sorry, what is that? Then you feel a bit stupid. Especially when you've lived here. I've lived here for 2 years now, and there are still words that catch me off guard. What I've kind of deducted is that if a word in Australia ends with some sort of vowel sound like an A or an O, then it's either food or beverage related, or it's a place. So things like avo for avocado, sanger for sandwich, food, right? And then there's places like the Bottle-O, for example, where you would buy your bottles of alcohol. But number 2 actually completely destroys that rule that we just came up with because it's smoko. Now, the tradie culture in Australia feels very Australian and very patriotic. For example, the high-vis, the Bunnings trade cap, going to Bunnings, which is like the equivalent of a UK B&Q, but it's a lot more, built into the culture, and there's like bears you can buy now. When Aussie tradies go for a break, they will call it a smoko. And this originates from going for a cigarette, a smoke. So, we have different words for it in the UK, but they would call it a smoko. But now I've discovered through, Aussie friends and family and people I've met on the street, that this is actually just a word to describe having a bit of food and a bit of a drink, a bit of a coffee, like a 5-minute break, maybe even a 15-minute break or a 22-minute break if you're feeling cheeky. This is very useful terminology actually, because if you're at work, even in the corporate setting, if it's quite laid back, people will be like, yeah mate, you can go on your smoko now. That means you can go on your break. That means you can get a gorgeous coffee and a meat pie, and you don't have to worry about it. Nobody's going to judge you. If you're not smoking, it's bad for your health. You don't need me to tell you that. So I did find smoko quite confusing because I thought I knew what it meant. Turns out I don't. Like this next one, number 3, oath. I still haven't fully got to grips with this word. Okay, so you say something really good or agreeable, right? And your mates or other Aussies might say something like bloody oath, mate. And what it means is like, absolutely, 100% agree. You're not wrong. So when I've said something and someone has shouted bloody oath at me, I'm like, what did I do? I'm so sorry. And they're like, are you okay, mate? What are you on about? So oath is like too right, mate. It's a very enthusiastic yes and agreement. And give it a little go. I've noticed when you do make an effort and you say things like oath, Aussies are like, yeah, go on, mate. Even if you say it wrong, I think people just appreciate you for trying. Unlike when you go to a European country and you've spent, 10 days on Duolingo and you try saying something and then they respond to you in English and you're like, oh, I failed miserably. And I'm still not fully with it with this word. It's taken me a while. Sounds silly, I know, but number 4 is even better. So in the UK, if it was your round at the pub, for example, you'd just say, that's my round, I'll get this one. Or, I'll get that for you, mate. Something like that. But in Australia, they say, my shout. Now, this one really confused me, but now I understand what it is. I find it very endearing. And it's not just used at the pub for getting the drinks in. It's used for buying food for people, booking a holiday for someone, driving if you carpool with people, and you say my shout to be like, it's my turn, I'll do this for you, and it seems very warm and welcoming and lovely. Was it raining? We're going inside. But this one threw me off for many months when I first moved here. My shout, are you trying to have a fight with me? But you have to learn this one fast, right? Because if you refuse someone saying my shout, or you stare at them blankly, then you're not getting anything. And then you miss out. And that's the other thing. People will often say, I'll shout this, I'll shout you. And so there's lots of variations of it, but if someone's saying shout, they are not being aggressive. They're not trying to shout at you. They're just trying to let you know, I'll look after you, mate. And you know, you got a good friend there. But this next word I did not think was innocent at all whatsoever. Number 5, popper. A popper in the UK, I'm pretty sure, is a slang term for some type of recreational thing you put in your body that, you know, you probably shouldn't be doing. That's all I'll say. Family friendly channel, remember. But in Australia, a popper is the name for the children's juice box. Drink. Box. Juice box. Why am I struggling with that? So, you know, your apple juice, or you know what a juice box is, right? It's called a popper. Please can someone explain this to me? Is it because if you blow it up with air and you stamp on it, it pops? Is that why it is? If it is, let me know. So you'll be at a family barbecue in a local park, because that's a very Aussie thing, you know, a birthday party. You get to the barbecue spot in the park with all the benches in the shade as soon as possible and as fast as possible, because otherwise it'll be booked out for the weekend. So when somebody offers you a popper, don't be afraid, and no, they're not offering you something that could get you arrested. They are offering you a very innocent carton of juice. But my British brain still thinks it's something dodgy. And I am noticing a trend with words that Brits don't understand in Australia, because, you know, when my parents came and visited me here, it was so entertaining teaching them all these words, and I think half of them didn't go in, because there are truly so many Aussie slang terms and abbreviations and phrases, it's insane. But this next one I literally only heard yesterday for the first time ever. Number 6, a dart, or dart. What do you think that could be? Again, I thought maybe some sort of abbreviation for a drug or something. It's actually a word for a cigarette. Okay, so if somebody offers you a dart, it's a cigarette. What? I understand that a throwing dart and a cigarette are both quite thin, tube-like shapes, right? But it just seems so far off. They offer you a dart and you're trying to look after your lungs, you probably would be best to say no. And for me, I had no idea what this meant. Again, it's a complete surprise to me. And if you're enjoying this video in any shape or form, consider hitting that like button. That and subscribing to the channel are the 2 completely free things that genuinely support it and help me to keep making these videos. For these last few, we need to be in a very Aussie setting to really honour them. Let's go. Oh, this is a very hard stone. Can you believe it? Number 7 is togs. My wife, Maddie, she's Australian, as most of you know, and whenever we go to the beach, whenever we go to the pool, back where we first met in Japan, she'd say, don't forget to bring your togs. And I thought, my what? We've got the towel, we've got the sunscreen, we've got our snacks and water. What more could we need? And she said, well, you need to wear something, obviously. And I was like, how could I forget that? Anyway, togs mean your swimwear, your bathers, your swimsuit, you know, what you wear to actually go in the water and relax on the beach or by the pool. And this is a really interesting one to me, because togs in my head are like the little dangly bits you get on like a drawstring, or the bits that you pull on the blinds. Where do togs come from? Is it because there's a drawstring on swim shorts often? It's essential poolside vocabulary here in Australia. If you go exploring Australia, people will be talking about their togs, your togs, everyone's togs. So make sure you've got your togs sorted. And a big thing for Brits, yes, don't forget to pack your togs before you come here. But what I would say, if you're into souvenirs, buy some in Australia, because honestly, no one makes swimwear like Australia does. Go somewhere like Billabong, you get like way cooler designs, way more comfortable fabric, and a much higher quality than anything I've personally purchased back in the UK. By the way, I actually have bonus videos where I go into full detail about loads of other topics and the behind the scenes of this channel and how I make these videos. So if that sounds interesting, you could sign up to my Patreon. There's a QR code here, or it's in the link in the description below. On with the video. Number 8, goon bag. Completely bizarre to me. What is this? Now, this is something you'll probably find more with uni students, all right? But the first time someone said, oh, have you ever played like Goon of Fortune? I think my wife said it was, where you tie a wine bag to, a washing line or something. You have to spin around while you drink it. I was like, oh yeah, we used to play that all the time at uni, but it just wasn't tied to a washing line. We were hardcore. We didn't need the washing line. Come on, Aussies, get with it. Anyway, you've probably gathered by now, a goon bag means a wine bag. When you get a big box of wine, but you take the box off and you're just left with the bag and the little toggle lever switch where the wine comes flowing out. Anyway, there's one word left, and it is an absolute classic, and is a way that you could bond with mates in Australia. That might be a bit cringe. Anyway, number 9 is larrikin. When there's a really funny person in your social group, if there's a bit of a lad, a bit of a geezer, you'll go, oh, he's a bit of a larrikin. They're a bit of a larrikin. She's a bit of a larrikin. At first, it sounds like an insult. It sounds a bit like drongo, that Aussies used to call someone an idiot. Oh, what a drongo, move over, mate, you're in the wrong lane. Now, larrikin is, you're there for a good time, and you're kind of like the group jester, and people, they respect how fun you are. In the UK, we might say he's a bit of a lad. I feel like I've been in Australia for so long, actually, I can't remember what it is. Oh my gosh, the kookaburras. Gosh, that's a loud one. I love that we got that on video. That just proves I really am in Australia. Don't worry, it's not a soundstage. This isn't a green screen behind me. We're actually in Brisbane. So if someone calls you a larrikin in Australia, don't be offended. It's not an insult. They're not upset with you. They actually think you're a legend, and they're actually really happy that you're here. No one's actually called me a larrikin yet, so, hopefully one day. But that kind of ties into the whole camaraderie of Australia. It's about mateship, and if you're not a team player in Australia, you really will struggle here. That's what I've learned. I haven't seen tall poppy syndrome as much as people have let on. You're going to have the best time here if you make friends, you make the effort. And I know once you turn past 20, it is harder to make friends. It is harder to make mates. I get it, but it doesn't happen unless you do something, and trust me, Australia is possibly one of the best countries in the world to make mates. But I get it, it's hard, but yeah, you'll have a much better time here if you make lots of friends. Oh, get me off that rock. But if you want to keep the adventure going, go watch this video here, click it now. It's the 8 words that I could not believe Aussie said differently from Brits. Thanks for watching to the end, and I will see you in the next one.